Hey, what's good, people? This is the Option Podcast. Fixing my mic. Fix my mic. This is episode 163. Maybe. I don't know. That lady over there, that's Kamalu Makekau. What's it?
Makekau-Whittaker.
Makekau.
Yeah.
She's my buddy, and I don't even say her last name. Makekau-Whittaker. She's on the podcast. Buckle up, people. The episode starts right now. Floor is yours. How old is LA Volleyball Club?
I want to say it's about 5 years old. It gets a little hazy because it did start off with a group of kids from Mar Vista Park. And that was prior to me joining the club. And I think 2 years in, they already had 2 teams, and Jason brought me on board staff. And I've been there ever since. And one of my favorite things about the club is just you look at the world of volleyball, and you look at the world of Southern California volleyball versus what Southern California communities actually look like. And we're given this opportunity to show the world within the volleyball community what LA really looks like, meaning we have one of the most diverse clubs, I would even say, in the country. So, yeah, it's really awesome.
We are going to talk about what Jason Olive means to the both of us and get all sentimental later, but you stumbled onto something, and I'd like to keep going with that.
Mm-hmm.
Volleyball, do we both agree that inclusivity is the key for continuous prosperity for volleyball?
100%. 100%. I mean, if you take a look at sports like basketball, where a majority of the top athletes are coming from really low economic backgrounds, and then you look at volleyball, it's not really the same, right? So it's like you have these athletes out there. These athletes are there, right? It's just a matter of, is the sport being inclusive? Is the sport bringing these kids in, even though they may not be able to afford it, right? Is someone taking the jump to bring these kids in? And so that's one of our biggest missions in the club is, to reach out to these communities and help the kids who, in retrospect, wouldn't be able to afford volleyball.
And what a job we're doing so far, huh?
Yeah.
It is. Now, for the club coaches out there, we have friends that are South Bay coaches,
Yeah.
That either develop people who can afford it, who are into it, and I'm going to insult some people. There's a handful of coaches that take the good kids and then jump in front of the parade and act like they've been coaching them the whole time. And then, everywhere you go, there's going to be a mixture of all of those people. But can you appreciate, and I'm not trying to say that the work you're doing is more worthy or more noble than the work they're doing, but I guess I kind of am. I am saying that.
Yeah.
There is nobility in the work we're putting in. Mm-hmm. There is worthiness in taking kids who are inland, and like you said, diverse. Mm-hmm. And that might sound like code for Black and Latino, but fine, okay, it is what it is.
But we have more than that in the club.
Yes.
We have all kinds of Asian kids. We have Latino. We have, and even within the Latino community, it's so diverse. We have our Black girls on the teams. I think we even have an Israeli player on our boys training group side, right? So, it's LA. That's what LA looks like. There's no other way to explain it. Yeah.
Let's use a small sample size, right?
Mm-hmm.
Flow One's one of the better teams, period. And the setter that we expect to see at the international level someday. Because I've never seen someone so young and her release. Mm-hmm. Because some people use like the deep dish as a teaching tool.
Yeah.
So the kids understand the fluidity, and then as they get older, the set gets better. Mm-hmm. No, this one is USSR style.
Yeah.
Euro release. All right, so back to the question. Mm-hmm. Small sample size, because this is right now, it was a very big roster for you last year, but it's a small roster this year. So how many people on that team are not white?
I'd say the only girls who are white on that team, off the top of my head, I really think it's, if you
the Oppo on the outside, right?
Yeah, and maybe, if you're counting Italian, then that too, but...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just, I mean, to me, white, it means so many different things,
I know.
but,
We
yeah.
ain't look. We ain't got time to dice up our
Yeah.
white people. Come
Sorry.
on, man.
But,
You Romanian? Stop.
just the three, and that's it on the roster of 9,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I think it's amazing. I think the only other place you'll really see something like that is in Hawaii, but that's because that's the only other place in the world that's to me, as diverse as LA is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course,
Or New
the
York
king of
as well,
diversity,
right?
Jason
Yeah.
Olive, J.O.
Yeah.
He's half black, half white. I think his father's African American.
Yeah.
Father's a vet too. So he's got mad respect, in the military community, and
Yeah.
I guess we share that commonality. So let me put myself in a position where I'm talking less. What does Jason Olive mean to you?
I grew up actually knowing of him. I never knew him personally, but obviously within the Hawaii volleyball community, he's a well-known name. And what was interesting to me of how this all happened is that he was in college around the same time as my parents were at University of Hawaii. And so somehow him and my parents ended up friends on Facebook. And my mom was posting pictures of our spring game against UCLA. And right after that game, Jason messaged my mom right away, like, hey, does she want to coach? Like, we need some coaches at this club. And, ever since then, I kind of just jump on board, and he's now, I would consider him family to me now.
Yeah.
In a city that can be brutal sometimes, it's nice to have people who, are loyal and who truly care about you, your well-being, your family's well-being. And that's something that I know he feels for our entire staff. And so that's, he has taken me under his wing, has shown me the admission side to club volleyball. I knew the volleyball side. And even that, I'm still learning things every day on the volleyball side. But with the admission side, I knew nothing. Right. So that's something that he's completely taken me under his wing and kind of mentored me through this process.
As far as volleyball nerds are concerned, like, you get into the sport, you're into it, and you put in all this respect for the people that played before you, and I guess the people that played before you inspire you, and maybe you aspire to be like a certain player. Me it was Steve Timmons, 1988 team. USC guy. He actually won 2 goals, 84, 88. The guy with the spiky hair.
Yeah.
Great brand too, Red Sand. Good product line. Goods and services. Everyone was happy about that. And so what happens is you become obsessed and you ingratiate yourself into the sport, where you are the sport. And just when you think you're the biggest nerd out there, you meet someone like Jason.
Yeah.
I swear to God, and I'm a kid from Brooklyn, so me being obsessed and talking about volleyball all the time and a basketball culture. I'm from Flatbush Avenue, right? It definitely made me feel unique because of this and that. And then you come here and everyone's on this level, and I'm like, wow, everyone's obsessed like I am, but they ain't the biggest nerd as I am. Sorry, not you. And then you meet Jason, and I'm like, holy sugar. No, notice I said sugar, right? No, I'm not trying to say shit. All right. Yeah, big time nerd, dude.
Yeah.
Big time nerd.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you something about strengths and weaknesses, and I'm gonna do it the best way I know how that annoys people the most. I'm gonna start with me. When I was interviewing for LMU, John Mayer, director of operations, and basically that's just another way so John can have another assistant coach. He likes as many as he can, but you're only allowed 2. So he's like, all right, you're a consultant, you're an equipment manager, or whatever, right? And he's got like coaches with international experience who are. But John asked me what my greatest strength was, and I'm going to direct this to you, okay? And I told him I personalize my work. because volleyball doesn't leave when I leave practice. You see this office right now. I'm living in this office like a hermit, and all I'm doing is watching video. And whenever I think someone knows more than me, while I'm sleeping, I get up and I watch more. And then when John asked me what my weakness was, I personalize my work. It hurts too much when you put so much in and the kids believe in you and they want it as much as you, and then they get on the court and you have these disappointments, and you have to find a way for your heart to not break, or for you not to be angry in the middle of a game and yell at someone, yell at a kid or whatever, because your emotions are getting the best of you. As far as what your greatest strength and your greatest weakness is, I think I know you. How close to my strengths and weaknesses are your strengths and weaknesses? Or where would your strengths and weaknesses be different from mine?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're very similar in the fact that, like, volleyball is my life, and it always has been. And that goes back to, you know, in middle school, I was kind of going through a rough patch emotionally and mentally, and volleyball was the one place that didn't exist. It was the one place where I felt safe. So that's something that will always be for me. And so even in college, when I went through hell and back, volleyball was the one place I knew I could get myself to show up to every day, right? So when that is what volleyball means to you, it never stops. Whether you stop playing, it never stops, right? So it doesn't matter whether I'm 80 years old and can't even get up off the couch, or I'm 16 and I'm playing every day. It's the same. So, you know, a lot like you, volleyball is my everything, and that's where that passion and that fire and that commitment comes from. I think with me, because of what I've been through and what volleyball means to me, I think that when I'm coaching these girls, I want to give that to them, right? Give them that safe space. Give them that one place in their life where they're feeling good about themselves, right? And so, you know, that's where when I coach, I deeply care about these kids because I know what it's like to be one of them, right? And so, you know, those things I think come from my core and my heart, and that's where I think my strength is, and that's where I think my strength is in life, is my heart. And you know, in terms of weaknesses, sometimes it's also my heart. Sometimes my heart gets too involved, and I, you know, get really affected by the smallest of things. So you know, that's a continuous process that I'm working on. But yeah, it's when you have, I think, a heart that's full of passion as much as mine, it can be a double-edged sword sometimes, because sometimes that passion overtakes it, and then you get these big emotions that are really hard to handle. And yeah.
We have a 24-hour rule with parents. 24 hours before you send anyone a text.
Yeah.
24 hours before you say what you got to say, because sometimes you're a prisoner of the moment, and sometimes a parent wants to tell you how they really, really feel, right? You know, a couple of weeks ago, or late last year, a parent from the opposing team actually told me how they felt about me in the parking lot, and that was kind of weird. It was weird for me because I reacted professionally when I didn't. I was like, wow, I got better at this, because the old Jason would have, you know, what he said to me. And I'm not going to repeat it because this is a nice person's episode. But where I'm from, you get pieced up for that.
Yeah.
You get a 3-piece and a soda.
Yeah.
You know what a 3-piece and a soda is?
Yeah.
It's a 1-2.
Yeah.
Right? And then when they come around, a third one.
Yeah.
3-piece and a
Yeah.
soda. So parents, 24-hour rule. Do you have one as a coach?
In terms of with parents?
Yeah. Look, I'm not talking about Jason. Jason, you need a freaking 72-hour rule because because he suffers the same weakness you and I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's too personal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, with me and the parents, I try to always have open communication with the parents. So, I've kind of lucked out a lot of the times. I mean, if you look at Flow One, their parents are,
Support group is
I'm telling
amazing.
you, it's the best group of parents I could have had for my first team coaching club ever.
Yeah.
And so I've never really had to run into issues with that group very much. Obviously, I have run into issues with parents on other teams, and I think with me, it's like with that 24-hour rule, it just allows them to kind of think through it. But a lot of the times, if a parent's feeling like that, a lot of times after 24 hours, they're still feeling like that, right? So it's just a matter of going through a third party is what I have seen
Yeah.
is kind of puts a wedge between that kind of attack that can happen on a coach sometimes from parents.
Right.
And a lot of times it's parents who may not know volleyball as much as they think they do, right? So they're trying to make judgment calls based off of their own knowledge, right? And so that's where having that third party come in and step in between the parent and the coach is always good. So that's something that I really like with our club is that we have that third party come in
Yeah.
and kind of be that neutral
I like that.
person between them. A lot of times it doesn't work out, but not everyone's going to be a fit for your club.
Cool.
So.
Hey, your volume on your mic is perfect, but if you want, I could turn your headphone down. If you feel like you're screaming in your own ear, I could turn your headphones volume down.
No,
How's that sound?
I'm okay. It's
Okay,
yeah.
I'll leave it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause you don't, cause when you hear yourself, you're like, all right, is this my doofy voice or is this my professional voice?
Yeah, no, I'm
Right.
good. Yeah.
I am a total doof, goof or whatever. But when I can hear myself, all of a sudden, I got my game face on. So.
Yeah.
So, in sort of what you're saying, first of all, support group collectively an LA Volleyball Club by the parents is amazing.
Yeah.
You want to have as little a relationship as you can because you're making it about the kids.
Yeah.
But Jason has given me the autonomy to take that chance and be closer to the parents because it can work against you. But in so many ways, it's worked for me. And in the instances it worked against me, those people were not a match.
Not a
anyway.
right fit.
No.
Yeah.
And in my experience, I don't hide people's weaknesses. With me, it's at some point it's going to show who you are, and if those people leave, they leave, and if they stay, they stay, or whatever. But at the end of the season, they're like, Jesus, I get you. And if you're lucky enough to move up with that age group, then that problem dwindles a lot more because they're like, I don't get it. The cool thing is like the parents that do get it are the ones that give you the least trouble.
Yep.
My last year at Evolution, it was a COVID year. And I'm like, Duncan Avery, who's the program director, is like, dude, I'm not going to lie to you. This is the weakest team you've had the 5 years here. So, and he's like, and I'm like, what are you talking about? They're all weak, man. I've my life, I spent my whole life doing more with less. But we ended up having to have practices in the beach. We didn't have indoor practice. And skill set, they needed the indoor. This team, more than any team I've ever coached, needed the indoor practice. And the whole time the parents are picking up, man, I'm like, I have this inferiority complex. Like, I hope these parents don't not think I don't know what the heck I'm doing because their volleyball growth has slowed down, has stunted. And then I'm like, Sarah Stratton, the setter's mom, is in the Olympics, Australia, for her country. Donovan Ivey, his uncle's Brian Ivey, who played at USC and 2 Olympics. His uncle and his father played with Brian at USC. And they are just chill as hell. And the thing I liked about those parents, they look at you and sometimes they listen to what you're saying. And they hear you're saying and they see, even if the drill, they've never seen that before, they see how you do it and they're like, nah, my kid's in good shape. So I think the point I was trying to make is the people that think they know more about the sport, that think they do, are the ones that give you the bigger problems than the ones that actually do know more, as much or more about the sport.
Or the ones who can admit they know nothing, right?
Yeah.
Those are also the parents that have been really supportive. It's like, I know nothing.
Yeah.
My kid trusts you. My kid believes in you as their coach. So I believe in you as their coach, right? And so that's like the best thing that I've experienced because with a lot of these players that we have at our club, I don't think any of our players come from a parent that's played high-level volleyball.
Right.
So if
Right?
you really think about it, we're raising a new generation of volleyball players
And how?
and houses and families, volleyball families, and so they're kind of being introduced to this super small volleyball community, because no matter how big volleyball gets, it's still really small.
It really is, dude.
Yeah, so it's been interesting dealing with parents, and to me, the hardest thing about coaching young players is having to get those parents to believe in you just as much as the kids believe in you,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, the parents are the ones making the decisions. They are the ones writing the check at the beginning of season.
Yeah.
They are the ones shepherding their daughter to go to either this club or this club, go to this training or this training, take up the extra work, but take privates, right? Those are all decisions that involve parents. So it's super, super important to have, that good support group, not just for the players, but for the staff as well.
Isn't it cool having a parent in the beginning of the seasons that's like, I don't know what's going on. Why is the game stopped in this and that? And at the end of the season, they're looking at the other parents like, why wasn't that a double?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, they learned. They're
Yeah.
invested in their kid where they came out, their volleyball IQ. Their parents' IQ took a spike.
Yeah, and it's so awesome to see that, because I have a couple dads on my Flow One team that have just completely turned into volleyball nerds, and it's
We did it. You
yeah,
did it.
and I love that because
Programmed.
exactly, I love that because it actually takes me back to my childhood and my own dad, and obviously I've been playing volleyball since I was 6 years old, so my dad's been around it for 18 years now, 19. And so he turned from knowing little volleyball knowledge to now knowing enough knowledge to be coaching young 10-year-olds very efficiently. So,
Is that how you got into it? Just volleyball family?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad was a basketball player. He played basketball at University of Hawaii.
Okay.
Walked onto the basketball team. And
Wow, stud.
so he worked really hard. And that's where, for me, he couldn't coach me much in volleyball at the beginning, but he coached me in how to work hard and how to be an athlete, right? So that was something that he brought into my life that now I'm seeing when I'm coaching these girls, and I see their dads pushing them, taking them to workouts. Hey, you got to do this. Hey, look at this film. I don't know much, but I know this is not what it's supposed to look like,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm watching college volleyball every weekend, so I know this is not what it's supposed to look like, right? So it's really cool to see the girls have the same experiences that we've had as players,
Yeah.
and our childhood experiences. So yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah. And it's so weird because when you want to talk to someone about volleyball after a game and someone has questions or maybe they want to give you their wisdom, you're only willing to listen to your peers that that know you, because if you know them, you know their IQ in the game, and you're like, all right, cool. So it's it's the dichotomy of that person or the person that doesn't know anything about the sport, like fresh eyes that just knows what something's supposed to look like, right? Like, for example, in the men's Olympics, the USA lost to Argentina 3-0. I have no problem with someone who's never played the sport saying if you miss 14 times, you're probably not going to win that game. I don't think anyone should go to that person and be like, oh, if you never played the game, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
Yeah.
Because on that level he's talking. On the level he's talking is not high level volleyball. That's a very simple statement with a heightened level of truth to it.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to talk on our level, is this team in system so good that if we serve lollipops, we're going to get licked?
Yeah.
Right? We got
Yep.
we got to do what we got to do, and we got to live and die by the serve. So that's knowing your opponent, but more importantly, how about knowing yourself? You and I watch enough volleyball to know that Italy that year in that Olympics can miss 14 times and still win. Russia, they live and die by the serve. They have as many as 20 a game, and they can win by 3-0, 4-1 or whatever. Knowing your team, knowing the U.S. team was not as strong, you can't know.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
And when I said that, I got so much blowback. Oh, look at this guy. He's only a high school coach. And I'm like, man, first do a Google search or something, man.
Yeah.
My last name's not hard. Do a Google search on who you're really talking to first. But second, that's not an unfair criticism.
No.
You know, I didn't criticize the players. In fact, DeFalco, who got his first big experience getting roofed off the court, that was my favorite player. The guy that had a chip on his shoulder from Long Beach State, thought he's gonna go to Olympics and
Just
beat the
went out
world.
ripping.
Got housed by the
Yeah.
Brazilians and kept swinging
Yep.
and kept like a freaking stud.
Yep.
And now I'm fired up now. But like a stud. Okay, fine. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna redden up them forearms. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, so people have to look at things objectively and who it's coming from and the why, right? So, and that's so cool that we went from the parents to other people who talk about the sport or talk about your style of coaching and this and that.
Yeah.
So, before we get in depth, we're gonna do a 1 minute lightning round, okay? I'm gonna put a minute on the board. No, that's not it. Oh, there you go. So let's do that. Boom. There's a minute. You have 60 seconds. And I want you to teach. This is from the neck down, fundamentals, all right? Not the mental approach. What are the 3 easiest fundamentals to teach? And at the juniors level, let's do 2. 2 fundamentals. I guess be it setting, blocking, digging, hitting, serving, passing, whatever. There's six fundamentals. What are 2 easiest ones to teach at the juniors level? You got 60 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the 2 hardest ones.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually think it varies.
And go.
I actually think it varies per gender because I've been coaching both with really young kids. But I think if you're looking at the women's side or the girls' side of things, I think passing is usually pretty simple, especially with just a simple hold at the end.
Yeah. We're about that hold. Yep.
Yeah, that hold. And then I also think that probably the next one would be hitting. If I was to really think about it, setting to me is probably one of the hardest. But the hard thing with hitting with girls is girls don't like to miss hard. So that's where I mean hitting it gets kind of hard too when you're first learning it because they're afraid to hit the back wall.
Nice.
Right. So when they're missing in the net over and over and over.
What about a second hard thing? You got 10 seconds left because we could do easy and hard.
I think another hard thing is probably at the youth level serving, just because they're trying to figure out how to get their power into that ball.
Yeah, you know what? My 60 seconds. So I feel like Eminem from 8 Mile, man. You said the rap song like everything you were supposed to say about me. So when it's my turn, I gotta drop the mic. I got Eminem's. All right. So the first thing I think is the pass, down ball, free ball, lob, stuff like that, and this and that. Putting your forearms out, rinse, repeat. Teach kids how to hold. Because when kids learn how to hold, they can hit the rewind button and figure out how they got there. So if they missed it, the hold dictates how they got there. When was I facing the whatever? Was I facing my angle? Blah blah blah. The second thing that's easy to teach is the dig, because in so instead of pass, digging hard driven balls, and the more you move the speed of the ball consistently, the more their matrix readjust and get used to the speed, and they're not scared anymore. They're scared enough at that first 2. Now, with that being said, the hardest 2, one is the serve.
Yeah.
Because understanding that you don't, even at our level, you don't have to ace a team to beat them, or just finding consistency and this and that. And this is generation Y, and sometimes you have to prepare them and explain the whole why and this and that. And then sometimes they just got to do what you say do. Okay. I mean, you got 5 seconds to serve. I ain't got time for the why.
Yeah.
Throw it up, get a replay. Still ain't got time to tell you the why.
Yeah.
And that last fundamental, I will go with setting. And I tell my kids the same thing you and I are going to tell every club coach listening to this. Setting is like push-ups. What's the best way to get better at push-ups?
You just got to do it.
To do push-ups. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about club challenges. All right. What is one of the bigger challenges you have to deal with as balancing your time as an assistant program director and a coach? And one of the things that you feel like, if I'm not on point here, it's gonna smack me. It's gonna. I'm gonna lose it in my peripherals, and it's gonna smack me in the mouth. Hope I'm specific enough about that question.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so I've within the last few years, I think I've learned a lot, even just from the administrative side or even from the team management side of coaching, because as a player and as a person who's just been around volleyball, you know the playing part, right? You know how to get the team to play. It's the part where you need to micromanage. Hey, are my athletes coming in on time? Are the parents aware of what's going on? Am I communicating enough with the parents to where they don't feel like everything is last minute or everything is not they feel kind of in the dark? Or even like some of the other challenges I would say is even just balancing as a coach and an administrator at the same time is how much time do I spend building this team that I'm coaching and how much time do I spend building this club, right? Because if you give one more than the other one starts to suffer. So it's trying to find the balance in between. And I think, every year we learn something new. Every time there seems to come a challenge. I am very open to the feedback, especially administratively, because I've never done this before. So when parents are like, hey, it'd be nice to have this, I'm like, okay, fully on board. Let's see if we can make it happen, right? Or, maybe a player leaves us and out on her way out the door tells us, oh, this is why I left. Well, I'm going to make sure that none of the other players can say it if they ever do walk out the door.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it starts to get a little difficult, because at the same time, when you're running a club, you don't want to give so much power to the parents where they're starting to control everything.
Is that something that you feel happens residually throughout the season, or does it wane as the season goes along?
I think it happens gradually, but where I see it happen most is actually in the off season, where there's the commitment letter, the letter they sign with SCBA at the beginning of season is no longer valid, right? The moment that last ball drops at your postseason tournament, they're free to do whatever they want until they sign another letter.
Okay.
Right? And so to me, that's kind of where it gets a little challenging, because, are they honest with me in terms of, are they going to train at other clubs? Are they interested in going to other clubs? And if they are, why, right? Do you feel like you're not getting something from me that you're getting from somewhere else? So there's all those things that go into that kind of, I call it like a mind game that happens in the off season. And, sometimes you can even tell when you're coaching a kid in privates every week of the summer, and then all of a sudden she's not receiving your feedback as well as she did a week ago.
Right.
Then as a coach, your bell goes off going, is she training somewhere else? Yeah. Why is she not buying into what I'm saying anymore when I've been coaching her for 2 years, right? So all those things, can be really hard in terms of just looking at it from an administrative perspective and wanting that return of players, because as a club, administratively and business-wise, you need that return.
Absolutely.
Right. So if you're not having that return, you're failing as a club or as a business, right? So that's kind of that mind game that happens in the summers that I've seen more often than in the middle of season, because what happens a lot of times is there are those feelings throughout the season, but a lot of them just keep it to themselves.
Right.
Because they don't want it to hinder what happens with playing time, with how the coach sees you, all this kind of stuff, right? So, yeah, it gets really challenging in the summers sometimes.
Well, I have another question, but I want to caveat. Brian McDermott, who's a club coach, Progression Beach Volleyball in Chicago.
Yeah.
It's one of the only indoor beach facilities. I think certainly one of only 2 indoor clubs for beach. And since it's all season round, he in whatever de facto patches or all season they have, he encourages kids to play with other people because
Yeah.
when you're confident in your own ability as a coach, he's like, I'll take the Pepsi challenge. Go
Right.
ahead, try that. You know,
Yeah.
or Crazy Eddie. His prices are insane. This electronic store back in the end. Go find the lowest prices you can find.
Yeah.
And and Crazy Eddie will beat them. And I think as you, because you're a fourth year coach in this club, right?
Yes, this is my 4th year.
This is
yes.
your fourth year. So as you continue to do it, like in the summertime, sure, I encourage you. In
Yeah.
fact, I know that coach. Do that.
Yeah.
If kids feel like they're not being intimidated and bullied into staying into a program,
Yeah.
which is why some kids leave and you don't know why.
Yeah.
Because they're coaches that are strong personalities, right?
Right.
And the kid feels like they don't have a voice or what matters to them and this and that, and they're just being told what they do. And you as a club player growing up, right? You've had some hard coaches and some
Yeah.
coaches that are whatever and this and that. And I don't know. I think there's a thin line between just kids saying, accepting something's not fair, but understands that this is the way it goes.
Yeah.
And a kid not getting a full experience out of it.
Yeah.
That's a very thin line.
Yeah, and it's hard too because, like you said, I actually don't mind if my players train at other places over the summer.
Yeah.
The issue is there's other coaches out there who will promise kids things, and that's where it gets really hard because I, as a coach, cannot. It will not sit right with me to
No.
promise a child something that I know I cannot deliver.
You can only promise good coaching.
And that's it. As a coach, you cannot. If you're promising a child something as a coach, you're lying. I'm sorry, but it's like because no matter what happens, right? My setter that I have on my 14s, right, on Flow 1, she's one of the best setters in the country. But I'm not going to promise her that she's going to start every single game of the season.
Right.
Because I don't know what's going to happen.
No.
Right? So that's where, it gets really tough. It's like a shark pit in the summer,
Yeah.
right? It's
Well, it's because of the sharks that swim in it.
yes.
I
yes.
mean, right now we're in Hermosa Beach.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want me to start out in some clubs or whatever, not the club we're rivaling with, but like on a general level, I mean, we got enough time. I can call them all out because I honest at this point, I don't care. Like I don't know. I don't need someone's validation if they don't affect my bottom line. So I'm more, I don't know. But anyway, I think you're right, and I think if you can take the emotional part out of it, right? Like, here's the general thing, and I sound like I'm stuttering, but I'm getting somewhere with this. You're a club coach. You put all this time and effort, right? And you watch this kid grow.
Yeah.
In the game of volleyball, grow psychologically and understand it, grow physically, right? She's a little taller, a little stronger, more powerful. You got to do in jump training, a little bit in the weight room. Of course, there's the box, there's the stadium stairs or the bleacher stairs, and then they just leave. So there's this emotional thing where you're like, I just invested all this time in this kid and they just up and left. And it's really, really hard to compartmentalize and say that's an emotion and it doesn't help and it only hurts
Yeah.
to have that into your sentiment and your reaction
Yeah.
to that. I'll say that again for the camera. It doesn't help and it only hurts. It only hurts because it only makes you close the door all the way.
Yeah.
And that's not good for your reputation either,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Who wants their reputation to be that?
Yeah. And you know what? Jason Olive gave me some great advice because this past summer was the first time I've experienced girls that have been with me since they were 10 years old up and leave with no communication prior. And for me, like I said, like I have the big, like one thing that I'm proud of myself for is I have a huge heart. And so with that, I had all these emotions going on. And, Jason Olive told me, as a coach, yes, you want to be invested in the player, but you want to be more invested in their progress than you are as in them as a person, right? Which I completely understand and completely see the value in that. It's just so hard for me because when I look at these players, I see me.
I wrote that down.
Right?
Actually. I wrote that down, actually.
Yeah, when I see these players, I see where I was at that age. I see what I was going through at that age. I see what volleyball did for me at that age. And so it's like there's this part of me where I'm trying to find the balance between holding on to their progress and that being my complete motivation, and also going, but I care for these girls like they're my sisters. I have 2 younger sisters. I have one that's younger than the girls I coach. My youngest sister is 11. And so I see these girls, I see my sisters, I see my cousins, I see all of that stuff. So, you know, I'm still trying to find the balance in between it, but, you know, that's where but I also think that that's what makes me a good coach at times, is because I care about what happens when they walk out the door at the gym. I care about what's happening. Is everything okay at home? I ask them all the time, is everything okay at home? Is everything okay at school? Are you emotionally okay?
Yeah. Well, that's your strength and your weakness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Didn't we have that conversation about your greatest strength and your greatest weakness are the same thing?
Yeah.
For Jason to tell you that is also a testament to where he needed to mature.
Yeah.
For Jason to tell you that, what he told you. I mean, when you were telling me that, and I'm listening, I'm like, what? That's the pot calling the kettle black, you know? But for Jason to say that shows the because Jason has a chip on his shoulder. I have a chip on my shoulder. We're borderline cocky in what we believe in. But so for him to do that shows where he's matured as a program director.
Yeah.
And look, the 3 of us had this conversation together that we're not going to share in the podcast because not everything is everyone's business.
Yes.
But the conversation in the podcast, not in the podcast, that we had, and the strengths that we brought into that really helped bring us back. I will toot my own horn because I've been doing this for so long that those emotional moments, they get so normal that I can, and I'm also not in the middle of that situation, that I can be like, yo, I understand how you're feeling, but don't say or do anything that's going to close the door all the way.
Yeah.
Right? These people want to go to other clubs.
Yeah.
Maybe using our club as an example, right? There's a little bit of an exodus. So we'll just be explicit about that.
Yeah.
These people go to other clubs, but if we are who we say we are, at some point they're going to want to come back.
Yeah.
But if you rain scorched earth and you close the door all the way, they can't.
Yeah.
They can't come back.
Yeah.
And I'm I'm proud of myself for being in this club because I've been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
And at the collegiate level, you get your recruits stolen all the time.
Yeah.
You know, in New York at the Division III level, it's a 2-horse race. It's Baruch College and Hunter College. And I was a head coach at City. You know, kids commit, they want to come to City, boom, next thing you know, they're at Hunter, they're whatever. And you see it in the club scene too, right?
Yeah.
You'll see kids from Evolution. We practice out of Redondo High School, so basically all of the kids who don't make SCVC and the other clubs play for us.
Yeah.
You coach them up. Tom Chaffins is an amazing coach. He's a Redondo coach. Kevin Norman, who's the boys coach, good coach. I'd like to think I'm good. Duncan Avery, longtime coach and assistant at Long Beach State. And these kids get good, but their wish and their dream the whole time is to be like, I want to be on that club. And if I'm good enough, I can't wait to switch.
Yeah.
You know, and what we're trying to show people, if you put half of the effort into this club as you are trying to switch out, you can go from a person who once aspired to be part of what something else was to someone that says, wait, I got this. This belongs to me. I'm just as good as them and I'm going to be better. Wait a second, I can leave my own legacy and continue something, because this is what LA Volleyball Club is doing right now. 4 years? Yeah. 4 years, you guys. I mean, that tournament we won like 2 goals and a silver. 4 years. So, and I think you cracked the code. You're mad young, and I'm not gonna talk about your age because that's not everybody's business either, right? I'm old school. I don't talk about a woman's weight, a woman's age, but you figured that out so early that this isn't gonna make you an old lady.
Yeah.
I'm good for you. Because I've seen some girls who turn into old ladies with this and that. I have a quick question I want to throw in there.
Yeah.
We talked about Kaya, the setter, a couple of times. Do you live as a former setter? Do you live vicariously through her?
I think specifically with her, the crazy thing is
She's gonna listen to this, huh? You know, I gotta choose
the
your
crazy
answer.
no, the crazy thing is she looks even like she has the same build I have. And I'll tell you, being a setter with that build comes with a lot of backlash.
Yeah.
How many times have I been told I'm not strong enough
Uh-huh.
to start? Right? How many times I've been told I'm a little more lanky, so I'm not as solid, so I can't start. Right? So with her, I'm seeing her and I'm going, no, you can do this. We just have to create your own style, right? Because if you look at every Olympic setter, they all have their own styles. Their hands are the only thing that's pretty much the same. But
Yeah.
in terms of the way they move, the way their footwork is, the way they get up and they jump set, some jump set with one leg up, some jump set with both legs straight,
Yeah.
right? All those little details. And so when I see people coaching, especially setting, and it's so black and white, I'm like, but that's not going to work for everybody.
Yeah.
That's not going to work for a 5'10" lanky setter who's got the smoothest hands ever and who's got an IQ that's setting IQ specifically beyond her years. That, you know, when she's coming all the way to the left side of the court, she hears her middle and sets the middle,
Right.
and the middle has no block.
Yeah.
Right? Or she's pulling to maybe the center of the court and she sees the blockers follow her and she's shoving it all the way to the red.
Right. Yeah. And not to mention being a pariah, hitting on two at the front.
Yeah.
At the front,
And-
that presents a bigger problem.
And the thing with that too is like, you know, if you look at all the other setters in those top 12 teams in Southern California at that age, they look super athletic, right? Super athletic. They're jump setting everything. But if you look at the decision making, it's not as apparent, right?
Right.
And so for me, you know, I guess yes, I do live through her in a sense of I know what it's like to have that kind of physicality and have people look over you because of that physicality and not see everything else that you're doing, right? Not see that, oh, yeah, okay, I may not be as strong as the other setter on my team, but I'm getting one-on-one blocks on almost every swing.
I mean, what more? What more could you ask for other than no blocks? You know, or I mean, right? Yeah, I know.
So, you know, that's where, you know, I look at her and I live through her in that sense of like, I know what it's like to be that type of setter.
Do your peers tell you that when they see her play? Do you have friends that watch your games that
I don't
that are
really-
like that look at Kai and be like, oh my God, that girl's got Kamalu's fingerprints all over her?
Well, you know, the only volleyball friends that have seen
She's
my
like, I don't
team.
have friends,
well,
Jason.
No, the only volleyball friends that have seen my teams play are friends that have seen me play in college. So that's their last like, that's their only comparison. Whereas, you know, when I'm talking about this girl, I'm comparing her to when I was that age.
Right.
Right.
I only ask because I've gotten to know you well enough.
Yeah.
And we messed around over the summer, right? We'll have some games where we'll just go in the gym and we'll set each other and this and that. And I see things physically
Yeah.
that Kaya does that I saw you do in this small sample size.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know you that well, of course, but I see this, but I know this game, and I know, and I can measure tendencies in like 5 minutes of playing, because at the level I had to play, and you know, I mean, you don't have video. I mean, back then I didn't have a lot of video, and you had to measure them and you know, trade side outs until you figure it out. But I've seen you do like your tip on two, hers, keeping the mood light, people looking at your face and they see someone that's not too intense, that's not happy or sad, though you're more on the happier side than whatever. But I think because you grit your teeth a certain way, it looks like you're just having a good time out there. And they're
Well,
like,
I am having a good
yeah.
time.
Oh, so it is
Always,
that. Okay, I'm
yeah.
like, why is this
Anytime
chick,
I'm playing
why is this
volleyball,
chick
I'm having a
smiling
good
all the
time.
time? So no, but Kaya's got a little bit of that not too emotionally high, not too emotionally low thing, and that's important for volleyball because we had a conversation about big waves crashing. Mm-hmm. For the audience listening at home, because we owe, you know, we're sitting here having a conversation, but we owe it to a lot of people to clarify what we're talking about. A lot of coaches believe for every 5 points you get emotionally high, you're probably going to give up 8 or 9 on a low, because just like a video game, those versus mode video games where there's a up, a low, and a load up and a load down, that volleyball's like that. So we as players, we try to keep our waves smaller. Big waves, so big waves crash, small waves go from peer to peer. And if you anything you'd like to say on that, elaborate on that. The floor is yours.
Yeah, no, I think I see it with my players all the time. The very ones who get super, super excited or not, and I'm not talking about like in between plays. I'm talking like you can see before the serve even happens and they're receiving, they're already like ready to fire, right? Those exact players, when things are going tough, are the ones that are crashing, right? So it's
I mean,
that
we've seen some exceptions.
yeah, of course.
We'll get into exceptions in a minute. Finish what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
so no, it's okay. So that emotional stability is something that I think, especially in the setter position where everyone's looking to you, your passers are looking at you, your hitters are looking at you, and you're that going in between. And I'm such a believer in energy and in vibrations and all the woo-woo stuff that people would consider, but out here in Southern California, considered normal. So I think this being the setter and having that ball consistently go through you, you're kind of like this energy portal for the team, right? So if you're way up there when your team doesn't need someone to be way up there, that can hurt. Right? If you're way down there when your team is way down there, then that can hurt as well.
Right.
Right? So I think especially being a setter, you have that emotional stability to keep the rest of your team emotionally stable. Right?
Yeah.
Because there are going to be those people on your team that want to go up or want to go down.
Right.
So as long as you have kind of become that rock for your team emotionally as a setter, then that kind of helps the rest of their team kind of gather around you a little bit,
Right.
and rally around you and really lean on you as a player.
Okay, because this podcast is like beach volleyball heavy, I'll give you an example of someone that navigates his emotions really well. Trevor Crabb, previously on the podcast, he'll get like a block thrown down. He'll do like a little stare down or whatever and this and that. And maybe he'll go to the crowd and be like if the crowd's booing him, he's like, that's it? That's the best you could do? And then when he's done,
Yeah.
hits the rewind button, reels in that fish, catches the fish, takes a picture with the fish. He's really, really good at that. Now an example of someone, the rare occasion of someone who's emotionally high and stays that way.
Yeah.
Fallon Funemoana. Fallon Funemoana is fire. Let's go. Boom. She's at the net. She didn't even take a breath. And I've seen her do that from bell to bell. And everybody's like, oh, that makes her tired. She looks tired. I'm like, show me where.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. She's all right. Show me where. Where's the evidence that she's tired? Where's the evidence that you saw her one step behind Donna play? Because she's a unicorn.
Yeah.
And we need to take her to the lab and dissect this frog and understand how it works.
Yeah.
Because that's a rare person. Coaches, we don't do that. We shy away from that because those. I don't even know that person exists anymore.
Yeah.
You played at Northridge, right?
Yes.
You had someone on your team that was like that, right? Did you have someone that was really, really high?
Yes.
And that was able to navigate that?
Yes. Yeah.
But how important is that in sixes when you're like that and you need 5 other girls to have your back? Yeah. Do you see how it's more significant in sixes?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, it's like there's been times where, as an indoor where it's 6 people, I think you have to lean on whatever energy you need in the moment, right? So if you have that teammate who's a little more stoic, a little more calm, and that's what your team needs right now, that's what you lean on, right? If you have a teammate who is super, super that unicorn that you're talking about, right? If the rest of your team is struggling in that sense, lean on that person. Have that person pick you up and start dancing with you in the middle of the game. I've had teammates like that where, they're literally forcing our little huddle to like do these looking on the outside in, you're probably like, they look so stupid doing that. But in the moment, it's getting us hyped up. It's getting us that energy that we need. So, I think in a 6-man situation, you want to lean on whichever energy you need. And sometimes a lot of times that fiery energy is something that you need from hitters, right? Especially hitters. So if you have that person in the hitting position, I think you lean on that. As a setter, I would feed her all day. If she was on top of the world all the time and just going and just ripping all the time, I would feed her all the day. All day, I mean, right? I would feed her all day, and like, because a point is a point, yes, essentially, right? But when your outside is scoring because she tipped to the center of the court and it drops, versus your outside is going and just ripping down maybe in the seam of the block and just ripping center court, the energy after the play is just different.
It is.
Right? There's situations where that in the 6-man situation is so important, because you need someone to rip. I mean, how many times have I told my players this past weekend, I know you can score by tipping.
Yeah,
but
save
the ball.
Save the tips for the waiters on this one.
Rip the ball. I'm like,
we're not
what
in
are
a
you
restaurant.
talking about?
And she's not a waiter. We ain't got to be doing that.
I'm like, this team needs to get excited. Go up there and rip the ball.
But I would also suggest that like those energy levels might be, and we're just exploring this. We're thinking out loud, giving each other permission. It's position specific.
Yeah.
When I played outside hitter, I played in Germany professionally, and you see me play pickup. You see my energy with the music, and from bell to bell, from beginning all the way to the last play, that energy's the same. Because I'm talking about myself a little bit. But I was that unicorn.
Yeah.
And I've had friends that see me play outside hitter, and I'm galvanizing, and the crowd takes, and if you allow the crowd to take the journey with you, man, they can carry you on that wave.
So amazing.
Oh my God. Like Trevor, he said he was like Hulk Hogan, man. He draws the energy from the crowd. He's hulking up. But then when I became a setter, everybody's like, that's not Jason. Like, I was quiet as a mouse. I would get a roof. I'm a 6'1" guy getting a roof on like a 6'7" dude, one-on-one, right? In system coverage. And I'll land and I'll go, like this, and shake hands with my team. And everybody's like, you're not going to say nothing? You're not going to be like, go home? Who are you? That's not the Jason I know. And it was, and the reason, and I'm only bringing this up because it just allows us to explore, and the audience listening on this relatable issue. And you guys reach out to me who's listening. Is the emotional wave for indoor volleyball position specific? We just stumbled onto a good question.
Yeah, and it's funny because this topic is always so interesting to me, because when I scroll through TikToks or Instagram Reels, I have a few volleyball content creators that come up on my feed, and and it's so funny when I see those TikToks of like the personalities of each position. Because in a sense, you watch those, or even there's memes out there like that, and you watch those, and it's so accurate. You look to every team that you've been on, and you're like, yes, my libero was just always a tad bit crazy, right? Just a tad bit crazy. My setter was always so like just everyone's friend, and was the nice, and just was cool with everybody. And the hitters were always the one that just wanted to rip the middles. It's so interesting to see those, because I think they're so relatable. But then it also goes back to, I think every position carries a certain type of energy. So it's not so much that that's their personality, but maybe that's the court personality needed.
Right. And I think that's also something where people need to be really, really careful with too, right? Like if someone sees, like Penn State had this libero from Puerto Rico. I have a friend, Rafael Deval. It was his nephew. So I was following Penn State avidly that year, including the year they won the championship in 2008. Fiery dude all the time, serve, receive, draws a line in the sand. I dare you to serve me. I dare you to try to put any ball within a 10-foot radius of me. I'm covering 10 feet this way, covering 10 feet that way. You got a decision to make. And some people see that, and they try to mimic that because they think it will bring them the same success as them, right? And I guess that's why we as coaches, we really don't coach try to coach their personality because their personality is still developing. And these kids need to understand, like, if I do it the same way that Puerto Rican dude, am I going to get aced off the court? Right? You know, like you had a libero that had a bad weekend, right? I mean, she's the best passer I've seen in this side of the country. And last weekend, I think the coaches were like, serve that girl with the coaches tugging the jersey saying serve her. Yeah. So is it about like that demeanor and that cool-headedness that brings you to the table, or is it that fire where it's like your Revis Island? This is a football reference. There was a New York Jet cornerback called Darrell Revis that basically took a whole side of the field. You didn't want to throw on his side of the field like Deion Sanders, because you know you do somewhere else because he was proud of his island. And that's the challenge, right? Like, are you one of those guys that takes great pride in your island and it's personal to you, and you have the wherewithal to handle that emotionally? Yeah. Or is it just, I got another bad pass, then another bad pass, and another bad pass? Yeah. I want to talk to you about quicksand, but I want you to chime in on this first.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely think, you know, it's tough with these girls because, again, they're in middle school. That's kind of the age I'm coaching right now, is even my younger team, they're 5th grade, 6th grade. And so they're trying to not only to develop personality, but also self-identity, right? So they're trying to figure out all these things. They're going through changes in their bodies at the same time. So I feel like from a coaching perspective, all I can do with these players is, hey, this is the mindset you need to play this position. If this is the position you want to play for the rest of your life, you need to change your mindset, right? I'm not telling you to change your personality. I'm not telling you have to be like this when you walk out the gym, right? And it's interesting too, because I have a DS right now who's probably, this is her 2nd year of club volleyball, so very new, right? And
she's so good.
She is amazing and has come so far, but again is missing that mindset, right? That DS libero mindset. And so I think where she's struggling right now is where it's beyond her personality, right? So what I try to coach with these girls is, hey, I know this is not your personality. I know this is not who you are outside this gym, but that doesn't mean that can't be who you are the moment you step on this court, right? I mean, if you think of a lot of the basketball players, the NBA players who create these personas on the court, right? Kobe's even created a persona on the court, right? That's his Black Mamba, right? That's the Mamba mentality. That's his
right.
thought process, right? So when I'm coaching these girls, I love to use those basketball players as an example, going, you know, this may not be who they are off the court, but listen, this is who they are on the court. The moment you step into this gym, you got to be somebody else.
You belong to them.
Yeah. If that person outside of the gym is not working in the gym, if that personality is not working for you in that position, create another personality. Right. And it's interesting because I think, at least from my own experience of playing, as you continue to play this game, those two personalities start to blend.
They really do.
Yeah.
And managing them is the key, right? Because if you think volleyball is who you are, that people think that your personality is supposed to come with a package.
Yeah.
And that's always going to be the challenge with that. I wanted to talk about quicksand, but we're still here. When I was coaching, my first position, I was a blocking coach. I was, how did I get the job? I was sleeping with a head coach, so she hired me. But I brought in a whole bunch of people with me. My Central Park people who were, some of them were former college players. In fact, I recruited some of them to play college that first year because they didn't have a club team. We had to build this NCAA program from the ground up. So I recruited my 2 best friends to play for me. So on the court, professional, like you said, business, when we need to whoop it up, we whooped it up. And then off the court, like the way we talk to each other at a barbecue, or the way we talk to each other when we're playing spades, or we're like hanging out singing karaoke, right? Those are 2 different people. So like people from the outside in, it'd be like, oh my God, those are 2 entirely different people. No, they're the same person.
Yeah.
They just have to be different to do their job.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know, like if you're a security guard or you're at a reception desk and you're greeting people You can't talk to the people you're greeting the same way you talk to your uncle,
Yeah.
or your friend.
Yeah.
Well, you can't be like, "What's good?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's good?
Yeah.
Hey, where you coming from? So it's not. I had to make sure we said that because it makes it look like people are wearing two different faces, and they are, but not like that.
Yeah, I think in life to be successful, you need to appease to all situations. You need to be able to morph into what you need to in all situations. Granted, I don't think that means you're not being who you are. I
Right.
just think you're being a different version of who you are. You're leaning on different parts of yourself.
It's a personality compromise.
Yeah.
All right. Like for me, at some point, I really, really want to be a color commentator for beach at the highest level, whether it's FIVB or AVP. And I had a quote here. Oh my God, I hope I can find it because I'm gonna cry if I can't because I'm trying to get to a bigger point. Everyone's waiting for the punchline. It's not there. It's like, right? How do you keep an idiot in suspense?
Exactly.
Like that. So the quote was, "Am I an outsider? Yes, I'm considered that, but it's not like I ever vied to be on the inside. That has compromise, and you have to consider if it's worth it. And to
Yeah.
me, it's not."
Yeah.
So that was a quote I had a couple of months ago on my whatever. And if it's worth it, you will,
Yeah.
and you'll find out the compromise is not that bad after all.
Yeah, and
Right.
I think as long as you're not losing sight of the core of who you are,
Right.
then I mean if I think about just my life in general, it's of course I've made adjustments here and there. If you I mean think about a CEO, a man who's a CEO of a huge company, he's not going to go home and be the CEO of his family. He might still have that leadership mentality when he's going home to his family, but he's not taking that same personality he has at work and applying it to his family, right? So I mean, maybe he is, but
Someone needs to do like a sitcom just on
yeah,
that.
so,
Call I am home right.
yeah,
I'm home now.
So I think as long as the core of who you are is always shining through, it's fine to adjust your personality based off of your situation.
Okay, cool. I want to talk about quicksand. Anyone that's ever watched the movie The Replacements, it's Keanu Reeves, right? So, and basically the players are on strike, so the replacement players are playing in the NFL and this and that, and people are booing them. But this team they kind of fell in love with a quarterback who was washed up, and the coach, it was Gene Hackman, was talking about fear. What are your fears? And everybody's like, "Oh, I'm scared of spiders. Oh, me too. Snakes. And this and that." And we're gonna talk about our fears later on, like fun fears. And Keanu Reeves, his character, DeFalco actually, or Falco, talked about quicksand, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, that's scary, sinking in quicksand." He's like, I don't think that's what he's talking about."
Yeah.
So it goes like this, and you see where I'm going with this. You're in the game. Let's say you're a libero, right? And you're passing and everything's going well. But then something goes wrong. I'm going to use it in volleyball terms, not something goes wrong. You shank a ball, right? Then you shank a ball the next play. And then you shank a ball the next play. And then you get a pass, but that pass held on by a thread. And the more you fight to get out of it, to get out of the quicksand, the deeper you sink. Because very much like quicksand, if you fight more, you sink. Until you find out you're in over your head.
Yeah.
Quicksand. Deep fear. And some players have it. Some players go through these patches, and maybe you let them give up some points. And as a coach, right, you're like, do I take them out or do I let them play through this patch and see them figure it out? Because that's a character builder too, right? Depending on your club, your situation. Is it a playoff game? What are the circumstances, right? Give me something from one coach to another. How do you, and I'm not going to do a minute for this if that's ridiculous. We can't do this in a minute because I have these minute rounds.
Yeah.
Quicksand. How do you help a kid through that?
One thing I'm starting to see more and more as I coach is and I think it goes so deep, and so that's where it makes it such a big challenge. But when I see a player playing out of fear, and I saw it often this past weekend with my team, I think that fear is coming from such a deeper place than most people realize. There's even the fear of, if I mess up, mom and dad aren't gonna love me anymore. Right?
Yeah. Jesus
Like,
Christ.
and that, but that's like, that's the reality of, I know that's so aggressive, but that's the reality that a lot of these girls are doing. Oh, if I mess up, my team's gonna be disappointed in me and they may not like me because we're all friends.
All right.
Oh, if I mess up, my coach isn't going to believe in me anymore. I've gone through that own fear, even at the collegiate level anymore. If I mess up right now, my coach will not believe that I can do this anymore. Right? And so I think the best way to feed the fear is to go the opposite. And granted, it may not work in an instant, right? Sometimes that fear is so overwhelming that it's probably not going to work in that game right then and there when they're feeling it. But because it is coming from such a deep place, then if you are able to combat it with, to me, positive affirmations are worth more than somebody can even put a number on. If you can feed that player with that positive affirmations, like, what are you afraid of? Right? Oh, I don't know. I'm afraid of making a mistake. Why? What do you think is going to happen when you make a mistake?
Okay. Now
right?
now you're getting somewhere.
And then, oh, well, then we're going to lose. Okay, then what happens? I don't know. I'm sad that we lost. For how long? Oh, just for, I don't know, a few days, a week.
A week.
Okay, then what? Then I'm over it. Okay, so really, what are you afraid of, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like, there's that aspect of it where I talk to these girls and I really try to break it down. Like, oh, we're afraid to lose. Why? What's on the plate, whether you win or lose? Especially for these young girls who really nothing's on. Nothing really. Yeah, you get a trophy, you walk home with a banner, bragging rights, whatever. But that only lasts so long.
Right.
Right? How many kids have, or how many people have trophies from when they're 13 collecting dust in a box in their basement?
Yeah.
Right?
It's not meaningful.
So at the end of the day, I try to remind these girls, like, you got like nothing to lose. Just go out there, have some fun, and rip. Go out there and rip some balls. Like,
first of all, I promise I'm not going to drive us off the cliff, but I wanted to talk about the trophies thing. It's very, very unique because as they start to pile up, right? Like, I give an example. When I moved from New York to whatever, I'm like, what am I going to do with all these goddamn trophies? So, you know what I did? I picked, and you'll see them on the wall around you. Mm-hmm. I picked all the ones that had a story to tell.
Yep.
And I kept those, and I threw out the rest.
Yeah.
Literally throughout the rest. I'm like, not put them in storage, not put them in another bedroom or whatever. For example, my first championship in Germany, it's behind you right there, right? Mm-hmm. One year I played at Hunter. One semester I was there for a cup of coffee because I just wanted to play NCAA volleyball. And we had a great coach from IPFW that year, Bill Anderson, Ball's assistant.
Okay.
And the championship medal, it's right there, and the team picture's there.
Yeah.
So all these little things that mean something. My first time I actually won money in the New York tournament, that's on the wall over there, right? Yeah. This wall behind me, everything I've done in California is behind me. Mm-hmm. So this is the California wall. That picture with John Mayer, so proud of the work we've done together. And I'm actually going to pick up LA Volleyball Club because they did this 9-person collage, pictures of the 9 people and quotes like what the things they liked about me. I almost cried.
Oh,
you think you're an emotional wreck. So I'd like to talk about what you were talking about. Yeah. But I want us to delve into something more specific about that. So we're gonna go 2-phase. All right. We're gonna go in game, and then we're gonna go back. We're gonna revisit what you did post game. Because what you were talking about winning and losing and how long the importance of all of those feelings having one thing in common, they're very temporary. Yeah. Right. So I'd like to go in game without and you are going to take the steering wheel and drive us back on the cliff because I'm an idiot. Chael Sonnen, MMA fighter, UFC fighter, once said, "They tell you that losing's not an option." Yeah. I think that's ridiculous. Yeah. Losing is an option.
Yeah.
Losing is the most readily available option all the time. Always there when you need it. Hot 97 rhyme ready. Now, as coaches, what we can do, we can go into the huddle and tell them two very important things that make them shrug it off, or as much as they humanly can, because they're not machines, they're people. You can tell them, one, look across the net, the other team's feeling it too. It's 24-24 for them too, right? Because whether they're the underdog and they have a chance of beating a better team, there's that nervous energy. Or whether they're the better team that's like, how did we get here? There's nervous energy. They're feeling it too. And the second thing is, stop treating it like it's a freaking abnormal feeling.
Yeah.
It is a normal feeling to feel this way. You're not machines. You're people. So I go into the huddle. Because if you have some kids that have these hang-ups, and like you said, positive affirmation is a big thing. Hey, look, next play. Or you could let negative talk creep up in there, you know?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think for me, like in game moments, I lean on those positive affirmations. And with me, when I give positive affirmations, because there's some people who give positive affirmations and they're not very genuine, right? Like, oh, you're the best hitter in the world. The kid's going to go, no, I'm not, right? A positive affirmation doesn't work unless the child believes it.
Right.
Right? So don't say something. Don't give someone a positive affirmation when it's not genuine, when it's not really realistic, right? Whereas, you know, my setter, she knows she's one of the best in her age group. So that's a positive affirmation that would work.
Right.
Right? Hey, you're one of the best setters in this gym right now. Play like it. Feel yourself. Feel confident. Because I'll tell you, nothing is better than a player who's feeling confident on the court. Right? Nothing is better than seeing your team play with confidence. And so, you know, in those moments where those players start to struggle, right? Like, for example, I had a middle who wanted to tip everything this weekend, even though she can bounce like 15 feet.
Yep. 1, here goes the 2 to the 3 to the 4.
Right.
Everybody in the club getting tipsy.
Right. And so, you know, I take a look at her and I go, Gaia, you could literally rip someone's head off if you wanted to.
She just said your name.
Yes, I did. And she knows this because I'll tell it all the time. You could rip someone's head if you wanted to.
Yeah, she is.
So
She's a
go
savage.
up there and rip the ball.
Yeah.
Right? So those kinds of positive affirmations, I think, are so good for these players because at the end of the day, they're playing out of fear because they don't believe in themselves.
Yep.
They're playing out of fear because they don't believe in what they can do. They're looking at the other side and they're putting more belief in what the other side can do than what they can do themselves.
Yeah.
Right? And at the end of the day, that's what wins. And for us this past weekend, competition-wise, that's what won for us.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's a win in that respect.
Yeah.
I mean, you're feeling right now, which I remind you is very temporary. A week from now, you're going to be like, yeah, okay. That was a win.
Yeah.
Because right now, fresh off that, we ain't feeling like we won.
Yeah. And you know what? For me as a coach, like I never really care about the wins or the losses. What I really care is the value of play.
But that's our way, though. That's the LA Volleyball
right.
Club
So, you know, if we had walked into this past weekend playing the way I know we could play, going out there and ripping balls, and the other team was just that much better than us, then I would have been like, you know what, guys, like, that was awesome. I don't care that we lost every single game. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Right. But again, that wasn't the case. The negative self-talk, the doubt, the not believing in yourself, not believing that you deserve to be there, that can be so big for young girls, especially, who are entering into society already with those things being told.
Yeah. Without talking too much about our club, that's where Coach Telly had it figured out this season before all of us did.
Yeah, he's amazing.
You look at his team, I'm like, man, I hate that guy. He's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good. And the whole time he's like, I'd like to learn more from you guys. Yeah. And I'm like, what? No, we need to have you.
Every coach can learn something from him. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This is the one where we, as long as we've been doing this, as much as we like to think we know, boy, does he got that figured out. And again, that's as much as we want to talk about like our club, but in order to talk about volleyball, we have to use that as an example and cite as a pretext, if you will.
Yeah.
And like you said, steering us back off the cliff, Mulholland Drive and back to Hermosa Beach. You talked about post game. we had a disappointing loss this weekend against someone that might be a future rivalry. And I was not, I'm heartbroken in the middle of the game, but when it's done, I had this exhale, like, thank God it's over. And I have the same exhale whether I win or lose.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me last long. That's why I'm 52 and I don't look 52, right?
Yeah.
I look like a creepy 35, right? Hey, little girl. And she's like, help. But and I told my kids this, and this is important too, because it's a mixture of tough love and positive reinforcement. Some of you feel bad about losing right now. Some of you feel like crap. And some people are going to tell you don't feel that way. I'm like, I'm not that guy. No, you feel that way. Feel that way. If you're mad, you're mad. If you're grief stricken, you're grief stricken. We had 4 girls crying. And I'm going to finish that thought in a minute. But what I'm getting at is what you're feeling right now is very, very temporary. And I need you to cry, and I need you to be upset, or I need you to be grief stricken, and then you to take 5 to 10 minutes to do it. And when the 5 to 10 minutes are done, hit the rewind button because we got to play again.
Yeah.
And because your sisters need you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I forgot what my other point was. Maybe that was the point. The feeling is as bad as it is very, very, very temporary.
Yeah.
You know, but it's weird because as a coach, and I'm different from some people. When the game's over, I'm just like, thank God it's over.
Yeah.
Even if we won.
Yeah.
And LA Volleyball Club, right? We seem to be winning these days more than we're losing.
Yeah.
But which is what you were saying. That's not what's important.
No.
It's. I think winning and losing takes care of itself when you take care of the other.
Yeah, and I think as a coach, like, we push this on the players so much, but I think, I actually had a conversation with Carrie Papinga yesterday. Who, sports psychologist, amazing stuff with Mind Growth Lab. And I was talking to her and she was like, the best thing you can do for these players when they're feeling the wins and the losses is to try to shift their mindset to their own PRs, right? And I've always thought, I always, preach like, yeah, it's not about the wins and the losses, but the way she phrased it with the PRs, I think were so big for me because, if we're walking in the game, not even thinking about wins or losses, no matter what level you are, right? Whether you're collegiate, professional, not even thinking about wins or losses, but you're only thinking, how can I play my best right now? That's going to take care of itself.
And so does.
Right. And so, I think I really valued that, what she told me yesterday, because, I went back to my team yesterday at practice and shared that with them. And, yes, wins are nice. Losses suck. I'm not gonna.
Oh, hold up. You never believe who's calling right now.
Oh no. Who is that?
Hold up. What up, Jason?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Well, we're live. We're doing a podcast right now. I got Kamalu, and you're on speakerphone.
Oh, no way.
It's strange that you call because it's like saying Candyman 3 times.
My ears are ringing.
Sorry. It's like saying Candyman 3 times. Like we said your name 3 times and you called.
All right. Okay. Well,
So,
I'll let you.
yeah.
Brainiacs.
Yeah, get out of here so we can talk about you behind your back, all right?
Tell me how Medina did in practice. When you're
Yes, dude. It'd be nice if I text someone back. Sorry, dude. I'm so sorry. Later. Oh, man.
Speaking of the man himself, the
Yeah,
big
no.
guy. That's
So
funny.
for the audience listening, Jason Olive,
Director.
director, program
Founder.
director.
Yeah.
Also, first or second team All-American at University of Hawaii. Final 4.
Yeah.
They actually came in the one seed, I think, that year against Penn State. Though Penn State was the defending champion. They'd won the year previously. They beat UCLA in 5.
Yeah.
So Penn State beat them in 5, and then Nygaard and UCLA avenged their loss. Beat like three burgered Penn State. I think championship teams. There's no championship team out there where that only exists through positive reinforcement. I don't think there's a championship team that only exists through tough love, because I don't think that, as far as sustainability is concerned, and with that emotion and just constantly, I guess, cattle prodding, you become numb to that too. The teams that win the championship have a healthy mixture of both.
Yeah.
John Mayer, positive reinforcement personified.
Yeah.
In order to win the WCCs, you had to have Aaron Mansfield. And you know who Aaron Mansfield is, because I think when you play for Cal-Northridge, he's coaching LMU. He's coaching the women's team. And at some point in your 4 years, I'm sure you ran into that guy. He's a good coach. He's a tough love coach. So at this level, would you say positive reinforcement and tough love is like 90-10, 80-20?
Honestly, I think it's 50-50, to be honest.
Right.
And the crazy thing is, I actually heard a quote yesterday. Jay Shetty, who is another podcast host, was on a Call Her Daddy podcast with Alex Cooper. And he said a quote, and I literally paused in my car on the way to work and had to voice memo it, because I fell in love with the quote. And it was, happiness is the intersection between gratitude and growth. And to me, yes, happiness, but also success, right? I look at that and I go, if 50% of you can be grateful for where you are and what you've done to get here, but the other 50% can be, hey, I need to work harder to grow and become better.
Right.
And you have the balance in between, I think that's when you just shoot.
Well, that success is also navigated about the other 50% not living in a false dichotomy, right?
Yeah.
You got one all positive, but the other 50 is like, I need to get better, and not just all negative, right?
Yeah.
So the reason why it works is because it's not stretched to the extreme opposites
Yeah.
of false dichotomy, meaning you're either with us or against us,
Yeah.
when the argument's not just those two choices.
Yeah.
So I totally get that.
Yeah, and with these girls who are really young, and again, being a female, like, I know how tough the world is on you already for just being a woman. So I get that these girls are already dealing with so many battles inside their heads even before stepping into the gym, right? So when they're stepping into the gym and already having these battles, sometimes mistakes can just reinforce the negative talk that's happening outside the gym, right? I'm not good enough. Nobody likes me. I'm not pretty enough to do this, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff that girls deal with, right? Coming into the gym, making a mistake, and then, of course, having a coach who's just tough love can completely break down these girls who are already dealing with a tough world, right? And whereas boys might be a little different. Boys, you give them tough love, and they're just like, okay, right? And so it's kind of finding the in-between, because at the same time, if you're just positive reinforcement, that side of them, the teenager side of them that's trying to gain that independence at 13 from authority, right? Because that's what happens when you're going through your teenage years. You're trying to gain independence away from any authoritative figure. That positive reinforcement can almost backfire if that's all that's happening, right? Where they feel like they're the ones who have the power, or they're the ones in the driver's seat, or they're the ones who have the control, or even just, hey, I don't need to listen to you kind of situation, right? Which is what you see, I think, with a lot of teenagers with their own parents, right, at that age. So I think, especially when you're dealing with teenagers, you have to find the balance in between.
Dude, I live in the South Bay. I know exactly what you're talking about as far as like teenagers and their parents are concerned. I'm like, dude, if I talked to my mom that way, I would have got drop kicked.
Oh, same. My mom would have dragged me out of the gym, holding my ear in front of everyone.
Yes. Yeah. Well, mine was a little bit more medieval than yours. You know what a switch is?
No.
A switch is a tree branch that your parents make you find so she could whoop your behind.
Oh my
with.
gosh.
So my parent made me get the murder weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go out there and find a branch. I'm like, good Lord. Here we go again.
Yeah. So, I think I think finding the balance in between the two. And I think that's why having a relationship with these girls that, to the point where they believe in you as their coach, and they know that you're coaching from a place of love, allows you to be a little harder on them,
Yeah.
right? Like, my team knows that when I'm making them do like burpees every 10 seconds because they just refuse to listen to me, it's not because I hate them. It's
No.
not because I think they're not good. It's because they know I care.
Right.
Right. So it's building that rapport with that team. I think in the beginning, yes, 50-50 is 100% the way to go. But I think as you build trust and as you build belief with your players,
Right.
then you can start to get on them a little bit, because I think at this age, for where they're wanting to go, is important.
And I think that tough love, the balance of tough love, is important because it implements something I affectionately refer to as healthy consequence, right? Like doing burpees for whatever, not paying attention and this and that. Everyone's like, oh, I'm not a punishment coach. And I'm like, and I'm not leaning in that false dichotomy either.
Yeah.
I'm not like, I'm an all punishment coach
Yeah.
or I'm all this. Healthy consequence does actually change the rhythm of practice where it helps the kids maintain their attention.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't even think I need to be a shrink to say that. I don't think I need to be some qualified expert. Right. You don't need to be a chef to know what steak looks like.
Right.
Right. This isn't steak. Oh, you a chef? Then shut up. No.
Yeah.
I won't shut up because that's not steak.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I was talking about. We were talking about in the beginning. On a certain level, there's certain things. We got a great sports psychologist. She's amazing. And
Carrie's
there's certain things where I consider experience. Like when Thanos said, if you consider failure experience, and Loki said, I consider experience. That's something that has legs.
Yeah.
So let's do another 1 minute lightning round. All right. We are going to talk about controllables. All right. And I'm going to give you the choice because I'm going to do one. You're going to do the other. You're going to give me either 3 things that you can control that the other team can't take away from you on the court, or 3 controllables that the other team can't take away from you off the court.
Okay. Both of them?
Which one do you want?
I'll do off the court.
Off the court?
Yeah.
All right.
Why not?
So I'll go first then.
Okay.
All right, because on the court is easier.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so there's the clock. 3 controllables. And we're off. 3 controllables on the court. If I'm just going to go fundamentally, I will say one's the serve, right? Serve is 100% control. No one can smack the ball out of your hand, and the other team can't make you miss your serve. Only you can, all right? Second one is in-system setting. And we're talking at the juniors level, so just as citing as a pretext of my 3. At the juniors level, in-system setting is if you get a perfect pass, the other team can't make you set poorly. Only you can do that. The third controllable is down ball, free ball, depending on the level. Someone has to give up the goods. They're down balling, or they have to give it up. Depending on the level, that's 70-30, 80-20, 90-10. At the high level, 99-1. So those are my 3. And within and a few extra seconds left, I will also like to throw in where your starting position is and where you're supposed to play defense. The other team can't make you not play defense where you're supposed to, right? So those are my 3 on-court controllables. As we count down for 5 seconds, I think I got it right. Kamalu, as I honk the horn, you are next.
All right. So the off
Go
the
ahead.
court controllables, I think most of it are the muscles between the ears, right? So I think being a student of the game, so that means watching film, watching other players, watching yourself play, watching your opponents play. Because although we're stepping into tournaments not really knowing our opponents, you do see the same amount of teams, and they all post their videos on YouTube. So you can go and you can watch what the other teams are doing. I think another thing that's controllable off the court is how hard are you working out? Are you physically getting stronger? Are you jumping jumping higher? Are you getting faster? Because that's another way, you can beat your opponent. If you can't grow taller, because that's an uncontrollable, be faster, be smarter. Right? And that's what my team is undersized, so that's what I push to them all the time.
Got one more.
Faster, smarter. The third thing is, I think, your heart, right? That playing with your heart and training with your heart and having that grit to persevere is above all else going to get you where you need to go.
You sounded just like Jason on those. You make me sick.
He and I do think a lot alike.
Man, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves in a good way, if there is such a thing.
Yeah.
If there is such a thing, I give you Jason Olive and Kamalu.
Well, I think the reason why he and I are so similar in that sense is because I think the core of his volleyball comes from the core of Hawaii volleyball.
Right.
And that's my core too.
That aloha spirit, and it comes on so many levels.
Yeah,
Huh?
and that playing undersized is a thing that every Hawaii volleyball player experiences.
Yeah. I'm from New York, and we have this dog in us. Everything's personal. Someone gets a ball by me, that's personal. Someone dunks on you, that's personal. And we create these little islands that we protect and it's built as a character armor. Like if you cross this line, that's your ass. You know? And we bring that mentality to volleyball. But at the same time, if you can instill some kind of discipline to come with it, because we were talking about Kobe Bryant, and I said this to my team. I had a tough love conversation. You didn't want to be in the gym. I'm very careful about not vilifying girls in front of the team because girls volleyball that you don't want to upset the sisterhood. Yeah. But you got to do it. You got to hit them some. Yeah. So I basically said Kobe Bryant. People call him a ball hog, but I remember him saying, he says, I'm at a practice. I'm the first one there, and you come into practice, you're late. He says, we go through the progressions and some of the drills. I'm putting 100% in. You're taking your foot off the gas pedal. There's a water break in between. I'm looking at some of the numbers. I'm looking at some video, some replays. You're on your phone. Practice is over. You're the first one out the door. I'm still there. He says, so at the end, when I'm taking that shot or in the game, I'm taking a shot, I'm looking at who do I trust? Do I trust me or do I trust you? No, I trust me more than I trust you, right? And I said, difference between Kobe Bryant, that's an individual thing, but the trust was the point I was trying to make, right? And I called out the two girls who are goofy foots on my team. I said, you had the entire winter break to fix your steps. Yeah. Okay, you could have done. I told you to do 100 jumps a day, and I don't mean 100 straight up. You could have done 5 sets of 20, and you could keep doing it until it's gone. Right. All right. You are bigger, stronger, and faster than the other girls than the girls I had the previous year, and you're not using those things. So when I got parents who have this disappointed look on their face that we lose a game to 16-14 the third set, oh, it's a team we could have beat. That's a team they could have beat. Should have beat. If we cover our P's and Q's in practice. Those things don't happen. And the reason why I had to give them tough love because that's not a reflection on them. They're looking at me like that. Yeah. Me, the one who, like you, we live and breathe this sport. You're proud of it. And it is and we do personalize our work. I don't want anyone to think that's the coach that doesn't prepare his team. So hell yeah, I had a little bit of anger in it, but I had to execute the same 24-hour rule the parents did. Because if I said it to them that day, it would have been messy. Yeah. But I did call out people. Yeah. I'm like, Lila, I taught you a default shot. Hard. If you lose the blocking vision, hard position 4 or 5. You're still going line into the net, line into the net, line into the net. Insanity. Repeating the same thing and looking for a different result. Yeah. Insanity. Yeah. So there was a little bit of that. And I said, don't take this as a put down. Take this as a challenge. Yeah. Because I'm challenging you to play to the potential of not what I believe you can be. I mean, I have my own beliefs, not what your parents believe you can be, but what you in your heart of hearts know you can be because of what you become and how far you've come from here to now. Yeah. You know you can do this. So stop playing. Yeah. Stop being all slick in practice. Stop coming late. Stop talking, sometimes because my sense of humor, I keep the mood light. So one of my challenges as a junior coach is when I keep the mood light, people think I'm your friend. I'm not your freaking friend. Yeah. I ain't your friend. We're friendly, right? But right, y'all ain't never been to my house. Y'all don't even know where I live. Yeah. Our kids ain't gonna play together. So there has to be enough of that where, man, it is reflection on the coach, and I get so mad that I put this trust system, or this unofficial contract. I'm not gonna be a tight ass if you behave like young adults, right? Because that's their biggest complaint with their parents, right? They're treating me like I'm a baby. I'm not a baby anymore. And I'm glad I'm saying this because I know a lot of them are going to listen to this. Act your age, not your shoe size. So that was the tough love thing. Yeah. And that's why I think we're winning more games than most because positive reinforcement or whatever, that level of success that we're having right now doesn't exist on one or the other. So that was just an example. Because there are a lot of coaches, I'm gonna give you the floor, but I'm gonna finish by saying this because there are a lot of coaches. There's a handful of coaches like me that have the same style. We have a sense of humor. We keep the mood light because it makes us love our job more. And if the kids fulfill their part of that contract, we are all right.
Yeah, and I think too with pushing these girls, especially for the level of play they want to be at, right? If they didn't want it, if they didn't want to be, and I had this conversation with my players yesterday. If you guys don't want to be at the top, let me know now.
Yeah.
Because then my approach is going to be completely different.
Yes.
But if you want to be at the top, you're asking me to go to war. So I need to train you to go to war.
Yep.
That's not going to be easy.
No.
That's not going to be fun at times. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
But what you have to understand is this is what you're asking me to do, right? This is what you're asking of me. And it's only my job as a coach to follow through. I would not be doing you justice if you're telling me you want something and I'm not giving you the work that's going to take to get there, right? So I think what happens is, right, these girls are still understanding what it takes to get there, right? Because, again, a lot of them don't come from families where the parents have played at such an elite level. Even just any sports, right? Because any sport where you get to the top, it takes a certain type of work to get there. And nobody is going to understand unless you've been through it or you're going through it right now, right? And so that's where I think coaches who understand what it takes to get there and can replicate it multiple times with multiple different athletes are the coaches that end up successful. And part of that too, again, is hey, you're asking me to go to war.
Yeah.
Prep for war is not easy.
No.
It's not sunshines and rainbows.
If you plan on losing, it's easy.
Exactly. And so that's what I'm saying, right? It's and the thing, and it's crazy too, because I stuck with the war analogy for the longest time yesterday in my conversation. And I said, think about it this way. When you go to war and you mess up because you were supposed to take that shot and hit that person and kill that person, but you missed, and that person ends up sending a bomb over here, it's not just you who's going to be dead. It's the entire team.
It's all your sisters.
And so that's what I was trying to drill into their head yesterday of, hey, you guys are asking me to go to war. Mm-hmm. This is what needs to happen. This is what it's going to take. Are you guys willing to do this? Because if you're not willing to do that, then also let me know, because I can adjust. But all I'm doing is preparing you for what you're asking me that you want.
I think knowing what people want helps too, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you have a player that doesn't want it as much, but her skill set and her athleticism is superior, right? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, she gets on a court and she's just better than the girl that wants it. You're going to coach everybody the same way anyway,
yeah.
but securing the knowledge of what that girl wants on the level to the other girl is just good to know. Yeah. This way you're not stressing out as much too.
Yeah.
So then that's also an exhale.
Yeah. Moment. And it also helps, I think, from a standpoint of knowing what they want, because it also helps you explain like what their thought process is when you're giving them feedback, right? Yeah. Because if a girl is playing volleyball just for the fun of it and because she likes to be around her friends, when you're criticizing her or maybe getting on her about something, and I take back criticizing, you're giving her feedback, it's seen as harsh criticism because, again, she's there to have fun. So when you're getting on her more than you normally are, or maybe really drilling something in her, it can be taken in a different way than someone who maybe wants to go play Division I volleyball because she can't afford school any other way.
Right.
Right.
You stumbled onto something very important when you mentioned go to war, because it's connected to what you just finished saying about having fun and this and that. Yeah. We have something in theater called GOAT. Mm-hmm. Goal, obstacle, tactics, expectation. Mm-hmm. Right. So if I'm on stage and my goal is to be really good and have the audience love me or whatever, then my goal is misplaced because that's the expectation. The expectation is the culmination of what your goal was and what the obstacles are and what your tactics to work your way around the goal. So I like go to war because you never said winning the war. Just being ready to go to war and having that mentality. And winning is your expectation. And some of your kids, if their goal's to win, they're not going to win. Yeah. Very much like theater. If I go on stage to be good, I'm not going to be good. If I go on stage and just make it about my scene partner, or if it's just a monologue and just feel it, and the residue that comes from that goal is your expectation? And that's very, very challenging thing for adults that we're asking kids to differentiate from. So something else you talked about, this girl's here to have fun. That should be an expectation.
Yeah.
If their goal is to come here just to have a good time, you know what's going to happen. They're not going to have a good time because you're just going to spend the whole thing making them do suicides.
Yeah.
This ain't fun no more. And I'm like, that's not why you're here. And you don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer to say that's not why you're here.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be limited or included to fun, right? You can have fun. I call it serious fun. That's my other official contract. You can have fun, but when it's time to get serious.
Yeah.
So the challenge with some of these kids, they love to play volleyball because it's fun. Remind them they're here to learn a craft.
Yeah.
They're here to perfect a craft. And through constant repetition and psychology, and as you develop and grow in all these facets, we can go on and on, blah, blah, blah. If you're having fun and if you're enjoying the process, good for you.
Yeah.
But if you're not having fun, you got a choice to make. Stay here and be miserable.
Yeah.
And I'll still use you because you're good.
Yeah.
Or maybe this,
maybe this club is not for you.
But I think, and I guess what I'm trying to say is the people that have the most fun are the ones that enjoy going to war. They enjoy the process.
Find joy in the process. And that's, and the thing too with that is like, you know, I have a team where I would say 70% of the team wants to play collegiate volleyball. And the other half is either not sure or don't want to play.
Right.
And so part of it too, right, is understanding that you have teammates who want to go to the top, right? You have teammates who, and they even have some teammates who need to get a scholarship. If not, they cannot go to college. They can't afford it, right? So there's a part of this where, and this is more so when I'm talking in practice, of respecting other people's time, right? Because if you're in the line and you're distracting me in a drill because your goal may not be to play Division I volleyball, but mine is, I'm not going to be very happy.
No, but that shouldn't diminish the general respect.
Yeah. So when I talk to my team, you know, I always make sure that, hey, we have to respect each other's goals and we have to respect what it takes for each other to get to their goals.
Right.
Right. And the great thing about Flow One and even Bounce One is that the friendships are so deep. And so there is a level of respect there and a respect for each other. And even those players who are newer to the team have formed friendships so quickly. And I think with women's volleyball, those connections and those friendships are so important when they have to go to war, right? That bond that you have, that sisterhood that you mentioned, right? That sisterhood that you have, if it's not there, when you're down 5 points and the opponent's at 20, and you right now need to push, if you are feeling a sisterhood with your team, you find it in yourself to not push for yourself. You push for the people next to you. And that to me is the reason why certain women's volleyball teams just excel.
It's a character builder.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a character builder because it's a selfless act that you're working overtime for, which is so unusual and inconsistent with general human behavior.
Yeah.
One's self-preservation of life is the essence of sanity. Sigmund Freud said that, and I believe that, but which makes the selfless act so much more noble and so not charismatic, but a character builder.
Yeah.
You ever see Did you ever see Remember the Titans? Denzel Washington was trying to get like the really heavy guy, one of the front five, get his grades up. He's like, "Don't you want to go to college someday?" He's like, "Oh hell no, coach." And he says, "I figure since I have to be in school anyway, I just figure I just want to hit people, have a good time hitting people." So that serves for the team too, right?
Yeah.
He's in it for his own reasons.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be an elite college player, but he's in it for his own reasons that are still useful to him to
Yeah.
get him through his high school life, that are useful to you as a coach because you need that guy, and understanding those personalities on the reverse end, because you were talking about what the kids want.
Yeah.
I'm talking about coaches understanding what the kids might want and this and that, because look, girls are just smarter than we are. Okay, there's a reason why every college has a women's team, and why there's NCAA beach and men don't have NCAA beach, because they see scholarship opportunities, they see an education, an opportunity to make a better version of themselves, and when everyone's done using each other, they're going to get a real job. It's why you see NCAA sport for women's beach, but in the qualifier you only see like 30 women's teams qualifying and like 100 men's teams qualifying. It's less, because they're like, I'm either all in, or I'm gonna use. They used me. I'm using them.
Yeah.
And it sounds a cold way of putting it, but that is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think what you were talking about before, the sisterhood, Hunter High School. I'm in New York. I am going in the tryouts, and I cut 11 juniors and sophomores. I kept 8 seniors, and I kept 7 freshmen. Didn't have a JV team, and I made so many enemies in this school. They're like, "Oh, you just cut that guy," and I'm like, he tried out like a bum. He thought he was entitled to it, and some volleyball's weird, because if you come in new, and if the kids think they know more than you, they're not going to listen to you. But you start cutting people, and then when people start Google searching you, it's like, oh shoot, and then the parents at the end give you the nod. You kind of feel better. But what I said the first day, and I call it Hell Week, the preseason, you're not gonna like it. If you survive it, that means you love this sport. That means you embrace the process, because that's what Hell Week is.
Yeah.
Seeing if you like the fire and you thrive in it, or if it burns you up. So I said this quote, and it took me such a long time to get to this. Sorry. We few, we happy few, we bands of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood for me shall be my brother. This is from Battle of St. Crispin. This is Shakespeare. I believe it's Henry the Fourth, Part 1. It's one of my favorite plays. My least favorite play when I hated Shakespeare, and now I like Shakespeare is my most favorite play. The next day, in the drills, I'm doing a military ring of fire. That group is flutter kicks. That group is wall sit. That group is mountain climbers. That group is jump reverse with a duffel bag on your back. And I'm coming up to kids. We few, we happy few, we bands of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood for me shall be my brother. And I just kept repeating it the entire Hell Week. And then year 4, 38-1 record. They win the championship, and we did this clip like for the banquet. And one person was saying we few, next person we happy few, this next person we bands of brothers, and I fucking started crying. For he today that sheds his blood for me. Then the 4 girls who were assistants, for he today that sheds his blood for me shall be my brother. 4 girls, and I just went, I went, you're gonna cry just listening. And it was 4 years of work, heartache, disappointment, overachievement, underachievement, that led to this moment where I'm crap in the bed. Do we have it what it takes to win the finals? Our only loss was the team that we had to play in the finals. So at that time we were 37-1. That was our only loss. And I'm like, is it going to be 25-23? Is it going to be this crap the bed moment? And it wasn't. It was 25-16, 25-10. Just New York is 2 out of 3. And I'm like, what a moment. And as a coach, when you coach that way, you feel this overwhelming emotion or nothing at all and nothing in between. That's a weird dichotomy. You're usually overcome or whatever, or you just feel numb because you're still in coaching mode after the game's over. So I guess the point I was trying to make was sisterhood. The speech. We few, we happy few. Happy because you're embracing the process. We bands of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood for me shall be my brother.
I love that. Especially, there's that in the championship process, in the winning process of it all, but then there's like if you look at where the emotion comes from when teams are winning that championship match and they're just in tears, right? It's because of everything it took to get there, right? All the little battles it took to win the war, right? All those little battles are all leading up to this one last battle. And once that battle is over, the war is over.
Yeah.
Right? So when, and it's funny because I just told this to some of my players yesterday. Like, I use the example of, if we keep running ones right into the middle of two, your setter's front row and you're running a one straight into two blockers.
Right.
And your setter sets it, it's just as much the setter's fault as it is the middle's fault.
Right.
Right? If your passers are free balling or passing free balls and it's not perfect, but as a setter you're not saying anything, it's just as much your fault as it is the passers.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry.
No,
I was
it's
trying
okay.
to search for something called Gladiators in the Arena while you were doing that.
Yeah. And so even even if you keep getting a set that you don't like,
Right.
but you don't say anything to your setter, right?
It's hard for selfless hitters to do that. That's a challenge.
But sometimes they need to, right? And
especially for the middle, because that's a timing play.
Yeah, and so that's where I'm telling these girls, like, this is where that cohesiveness needs to come in. It's not just, oh, we're all friends. It's, oh, are you a friend that can call out your other friend, right? Because that's really what a true friend is, hey, I don't think you should be doing this. It's probably not what you want to hear, but I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, right? And so that I think is part of that battle that players have to go through, and that's why I think when it comes to like seeing teams, like my favorite thing to see in sports is the championship celebration, because for me, as an athlete, when you watch that, what it took to get there. The blood, the sweat, the tears, the pain, the early mornings, the late nights, the money that your parents invested, all of that, right? The belief that it had to take for your coach to even start you in the first place.
Agreed.
Right? All of those things all come to the surface the moment that you win that last game.
And it's so weird that it's either numbing or just it's too much. You start bawling. Do you remember when Karch won the gold?
Yeah.
Not won the gold. The players did, because coaches don't get medals.
Yeah.
But the whole time, this robot.
Yeah.
I'm like, he tried to talk and he couldn't because he was trying to hold back the tears and talk at the same time.
Yeah.
And he just kept saying they did it.
Yeah.
Not I did it, not we did it, not even we.
They did it.
They did it, and how much he wanted it for them. And I'm emotional. I might cry just talking about Karch right now.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because that's why I had this love-hate relationship with Gladiators in the Arena speech, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more. But I guess it's segue to this. For the people that don't understand or lack the ability to understand how people feel like that, I'm not going to be an a-hole and say that you don't understand because you've never done anything that hard in your life that gets you to that moment. Though a lot of my peers will tell you that. Mm-hmm. Not you, but a lot of my peers will say it that way. The only thing I can say is that put yourself in someone's shoes where you committed pretty much your whole day. The sun rises and sets on a certain goal. And let's say the championship happened in a year or a second year. Third year on my high school team, we had a really good shot at it and we didn't. We lost to a kid with one arm, missing an arm. I'll tell you that story later, which will make you cry too. Fourth year. So 4 years of hard work, this disappointment, this and that. And we get this serve that hits the top of the tape and it goes in and we win. And the only thing I can tell people, to challenge people it's just a game. Oh, it's just sport. I don't get these people. I don't understand. I need them to focus and use their imagination. And don't even talk about sports.
Yeah.
4 years of college.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to be valedictorian.
Yeah.
You might be second.
Yeah.
Then you find out you're first. You have the highest GPA. Don't tell me that you don't feel anything.
Yeah.
Or have someone tell you that you're not supposed to feel a certain way at a ridiculously heightened level.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I could go another way with this and be like, oh, the people that feel like probably never done anything like that their whole lives. And maybe there's a heightened level of truth to that. Maybe our chauvinistic conceit and our belief in our sport entitles us to talk that way, to answer someone that way. But maybe they don't. Maybe they don't get it. Maybe they do.
Oh, that scared me.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I have this compilation video. Sorry. I want to get to the end. Sorry. Let's see if I can just go to the end where the last serve is. This is the PSALs. Actually, I can put it on now. So let's go back to this. Actually, let's go back to that X. All right. We ran a ridiculous X out of row 1. It's like one of the plays that we had trouble getting out of, and I'm like, God, row 1 is row 1, by the way, is the rotation.
Tough.
It's yes.
Tough.
So what you do is you run play sets.
Yeah.
And when you run play sets, you're not thinking about ways to get out of row 1. There it is. Now watch this.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't even know. I'm over there on my goddamn knees, right? You saw me in the corner somewhere?
Yeah.
So that was just that moment of 4 years of
Yeah.
whatever. And you know what the other thing is too? The people that you allow to take that journey with you, they feel it too.
Yeah.
It's the best thing that ever happened to them, and it didn't even happen to them.
Yeah.
How's that for a
Yeah.
feeling? Huh?
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, and it's so amazing too because, you know, for me, even as a coach, watching these girls succeed, right? In my culture and in Hawaii culture in general, when you do something, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your family. You're doing
it's
it
the
for your school, for whatever you're representing at that time. You're doing it for all your ancestors that have passed, right? So you have like, and it's so amazing because when growing up in that kind of culture, you come to learn that and come to believe that when you're walking about the world, you have 10 billion people behind you. Right? So when I'm doing anything, I have that mindset of I have everyone else behind me, right? So with that, I've actually also adapted this mindset of when I see others, I see everyone else behind them, right? So when I see my girls succeed, my favorite thing is to actually look at the parents. Because it takes a village, right? There's that saying, it takes a village. Of course it takes a village, right? How much motivation would these girls have without the right parenting?
Boy, we got a good group of parents, don't
Right?
we? I mean to make it about LA Volleyball Club, but damn, we got some good parents. Go ahead.
Well, how many practices would a girl not be able to make if her parents didn't drive her? Right? How much did they put on the plate to invest in club volleyball, right? And then even before that, right? For me, my great-grandparents are immigrants from the Philippines and Japan. How much did they give up for me to even be able to grow up in Hawaii, right? So all those things, right, is when I look at these players, I think of all that backstory. And so every time they do something, so not even thinking about championships, right? Just thinking about every little success, right? To me, with the way I look at the world, I just see it so differently because I see everything that had to happen
Right.
for them to succeed in that tiny little moment.
Yep. Amen.
Right. So I think, you know, that's why I just love those championship videos because it's just like there's so much that goes into it, even beyond just the players, beyond just the coaching staff, right? Beyond just the families, there's so much that goes into it.
And in so many ways, I'm so jealous of you because right now, those moments that you're talking about, I'm taking all of these in present tense, pretty much the last 10 years to the present, because when I played, I had such high expectations that when I won a championship, I mean, we hugged each other and this and that, but I didn't get it as much. I was only able to look back and enjoy it retrospectively, where I'm so jealous of the people who they're in their moment right there, right then, and they realize they're in their moment. This is like, they're like, why do I need to look back at this when I'm here now? And I'm so envious of the people. Well, I mean, look, you deserve it, right? We all deserve it if we're in the finals, whether you win or lose. I mean, you feel like you've already won if you've gotten that far, right? Though second place, nobody remembers a runner up.
Yeah.
If I'm going to sound cold.
Yeah.
I'm an East Coast guy again. You are what your record says you are.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Staten Island Tech, you're second. But that was a post. But I'm so envious of the people who are in their moment now that I ride on the coattails. I latch on everybody. I've come to some of your finals. Remember, I stayed for your finals.
Yeah.
That finished late.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone was gone.
Yeah.
No, me. Wild horses couldn't drag me from that game.
Yeah.
I was living vicariously through you guys because you guys were in that moment, and you guys we allow each other to take that journey together.
Yeah.
Right. Flow One, they've come to plenty of our games. Remember there was a game where Jason had to hold up the whole show about a protest.
Yeah.
Flow One, nobody left.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We allowed them to take that journey with us. So, in so many ways, I love being with you guys because I feel like I'm catching up on all of the nostalgia that my robotic mind, if not my ego, just thinking about myself and not what everybody else put into it, severely missed.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Yeah, and I think
that championship behind you, I missed it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one thing that we really tried to do with this club, which I'd like to feel that we've done successfully, is that, although Jason Olive didn't grow up in Hawaii, he spent enough time immersed in the culture that he developed those values, right?
He's a shapeshifter.
Yeah, and so with me growing up in Hawaii and growing up very immersive in Hawaiian culture, first language was Hawaiian, went to Hawaiian immersion school, all of that stuff. And so with that culturally being so strong in the both of us, we knew what kind of environment we wanted with this club. We wanted to coach from a family standpoint.
Right.
We wanted to coach from a care about each person next to you standpoint.
Right.
We wanted to bring all those values and that culture, right? If you think about Hawaii and you go beyond just the touristy locations and you talk to the local people, everyone is so kind.
Yeah.
And everyone is so inviting. It's so loving. Everyone's going, I don't know you, but I'm going to go out on a limb for you. I don't know you, but here's some food.
Yeah, but they're in the moment. That's why.
Yeah, and so I think that's really something that we wanted to bring into this club, and why, even if you look at like our uniforms and even the sweat jacket that I'm wearing right now, there's hints of Hawaii in there.
Right.
And so, that's kind of the cultural thing that we wanted to bring to LAVBC, and I'm glad that people are feeling it.
Yeah, and I'm envious. I in many ways I still don't have that, and it's because, and this is the Army too. We would do missions together, and the brotherhood of doing the mission and accomplishing these missions, and let's go get a beer later, or whatever. Or I'm a vodka guy, I don't drink beer. Beer tastes like pee. Sorry.
Agreed.
There you go. See, sorry, I'm Jason. But
Agreed.
Now that deserves its moment. See how I just go through the moment. And I guess the reason why those end of the journey moments are anticlimactic for me, because the juice wasn't in how it was going to end as much as it was about the journey itself. If that makes any sense. So I was already in that moment
Yeah.
before I got to
Yeah.
that moment. So that's probably why I haven't felt that. But the last few years, it started in 2014. I'm gonna do a documentary with them too. I'm calling I call it the Smart Kid School. Hunter High School led the nation for 10 straight years in cumulative SAT scores
Wow.
and Ivy League application acceptance. So,
Wow.
and in fact, that's the first championship team that produced no NCAA players.
Wow.
They were all smart kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yale doesn't have a men's team. Brown doesn't have a men's team, right? Lehigh, right? Johns Hopkins. That's where all these kids went to. But none of them had men's teams,
Yeah.
except Vassar, and that kid played basketball because he's a two-sport athlete. But I'm very, very glad that I caught on to this whole destination, which is a combination of all the hard work, because I didn't appreciate it because I was so locked into the journey.
Yeah.
And on to the next thing.
Yeah.
On to the next thing.
Yeah.
You know, I love your escapism, and I love that your escapism has become your career. And I hope that you have something outside of this that allows you to come back and function like a mammal. For me,
Yeah.
it's karaoke.
Yeah.
I'd sing twice a week. I could do this because
Yeah.
now this is our career.
Yeah.
This isn't right when we grew up. This is our safe place.
Yeah.
We were talking about safe place.
Yes.
This is the place that no one can touch me. No one can call me a freak, or no one can say anything bad, mean about me.
Yeah.
I'm in my safe place.
Yeah.
Right. But now that our safe place is our career,
Yeah.
got it. This is fatherly advice, I guess.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you have something outside of this. If it's traveling. And maybe I assume you know how to surf.
Not really.
No.
Actually, I know how to paddleboard.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up paddleboarding. Yeah.
So one more lightning round.
Okay.
We're past 2 hours, dude.
I told you we could talk all day.
She said, "Didn't you see the warning signs? Two
I said
nerds."
you and I could talk all day.
All right. So these lightning rounds are just for you.
Okay.
All right, and my fans will be happy. So let's get the scoreboard. Let's do that. So these are lightning rounds. These are just quick questions. And the way you bang things out, you'll probably do it in 30 seconds and just allot that time. All
I
right.
don't know. I'm a talker.
All right. So here we go. Favorite comedian?
Oh, Jesus. I would say right now it would be Joe Coy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool. Last good book you read?
Oh,
She's like, I don't read.
No, I read too much. Last good book I read is the last book I read, A Court of Thorn and Roses. It's a romance fantasy book. Love. I'm on the second book in the series. Sarah J. Maas has won me over. So.
Nice. Marvel or DC?
Oh, Marvel all the way.
Cool. Pool or beach?
Pool. Which is great. Well,
The blasphemy!
depending on where I am. If I'm in Hawaii, beach.
Nice.
Anywhere else, pool.
Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter?
Harry Potter.
Favorite sport outside of volleyball?
I do enjoy watching basketball, but I did enjoy swimming. Like if I was to do it, it would be swimming.
All right, last question with 5 seconds left. Are you the best coach in volleyball?
No.
Okay. She's like, I said that at the same time as the horn.
No, the answer was no for you
I
guys.
know.
Who didn't hear.
You could have been like, oh, horns up, not answering that.
No.
Well, I asked Trevor Crabb yesterday, are you the best player in the world? And he took a second. He says yes.
Yeah.
And I really like that because present tense, you'll find out later that you're not, but present tense, going into some of these battles where sometimes you feel like you're in over your head or not.
Yeah.
If you have that mentality, it helps.
Yeah.
You know?
I definitely am confident in my abilities, but I do know there's room for growth.
No, the truth is you're probably not, but to me, the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
For me, I always say yes. If the movie Ghostbusters, I said this last podcast, where they were confronting like this demon and the demon asked, are you a god? Right? And Dan Aykroyd looked behind his friends and his friends were like, and he goes, no. And then she like does this electric thing and almost like shoots him off the top of the building, but they hold each other and they climb back up to the top. And then Ernie Hudson says to Dan Aykroyd, next time someone asks if you're a god, you say yes.
So funny.
All right. So let's plug in our site. Let's also an IG handle. Someone wants to know more about what Kamala's been up to and what you're doing on a professional thing. Personally, she's spoken for guys. Sorry, fellas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're thinking business wise, LosAngelesVolleyballClub.com.
Yeah.
At Los Angeles Volleyball Club on Instagram.
Because that's all we're about these days, right?
Yeah. I actually am in the middle of getting my holistic health coach certification. So my own personal social media will become that once I have certification.
Whoa.
So
Jesus.
personal handle, Kaui Kamalu, Kauikamalu. That's for all social media. So
Perfect. Me too.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So Kamalu might love you, but me, I don't like any of you. In fact, I can't stand any of you. So for all of you at home, for all of you on your iPads, for all of you on your desktop, who runs the world, old school. For my homegirl Kamalu, I ain't even saying her last name. I tried twice. I failed twice. For my homegirl Kamalu and business associate, I'm Jason DeBeas. This is episode 163 of the Option Podcast. I'm gonna hit my music. Stay with me. We're out. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.